Good evening, and welcome to the Radburn Players production of Slightly Twisted Holiday Classics. I'm so happy to be hosting our annual, did we say this was, are we doing this again next year? Okay, we'll talk about it later. You can edit this out, right? Oh. Okay, anyway. Back to the program. Well, in the immortal words of, who are they again? Oh, Grateful Dead. In the immortal words of Grateful Dead, what a long, strange trip it's been. Who would have guessed that in 2020, lights in theaters everywhere would go dark? But we're finally getting back into action. Broadway's lights are back on and community theaters are popping up out of the ground, ready to go. Now, not everybody is back in their homes, which is why today we are coming from Ramapo Valley Baptist Church, and we are so thankful for their hospitality. Okay, enough of that, let's get on with the show. Our first scene this evening is actually based on a true story, where a little girl asks about the truth regarding Santa Claus in the newspaper.
Dear editor, I am 8 years old. Some of my little friends say there is no Santa Claus. Papa says if you see it in the sun, it's so. Please tell me the truth. Is there a Santa Claus? Virginia O'Hanlon.
Virginia, your little friends are wrong. They have been affected by the skepticism of a skeptical age. They don't believe unless they see. They think that nothing can be which is not comprehensible by their little minds. All minds, Virginia, whether they be men's or children's, are little. In this great universe of Oz, man is a small thing in his intellect as compared with the boundless world about him, as measured by the intelligence capable of grasping the whole of truth and knowledge. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist, and you know that they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy. How dreary would be the world if there were no Santa Claus? It would be as dreary as if there were no Virginians. There would be no childlike faith then, no poetry, no romance to make the tolerable existence. We should have no enjoyment except in the sense and sight. The eternal light with which childhood fills the world would be extinguished. Not believe in Santa Claus? You might as well not believe in elves or fairies. You might get your father to hire men to watch in all the chimneys on Christmas Eve to catch Santa Claus, but even if you did not see Santa Claus coming down, what would that prove? Nobody sees Santa Claus. But it is no sign that there is no Santa Claus. The most real things in the world are those that neither children nor men can see. Did you ever see elves and fairies dancing on the lawn? Of course not. But that's no proof that they are not there. Nobody can conceive or imagine all the wonders that are unseen and unseeable in this world. You tear apart the baby's rattle to see what makes the noise inside. But there is a veil covering the unseen world that not the strongest man, nor even the united strength of all the strongest men that ever lived, could tear apart. Only faith, poetry, love, romance can push aside that curtain and view and picture the heavenly beauty and glory beyond. Is it all real? Virginia, in all this world, there is nothing else real and abiding. No Santa Claus, thank God he lives and lives forever. 1,000 years from now, Virginia, no, 10 times 10,000 years from now, he will continue to make glad the hearts of childhood. Okay, did you get that?
Get what?
Well, I just dictated to you.
Our next scene is about a man who realizes how valuable he is when he wishes to an angel that he was never born. Then he realizes he has wonderful friends, a wonderful family, and a wonderful life.
Clarence, help me, get me back, I don't care what happens to me, I want to get back, I want to be with my wife and kids, I want to live, please God, let me live again.
George, are you okay?
You get out of here, I'll hit you again.
What's the matter with you, George?
You know who I am?
Of course I know who you are. I've been looking for you everywhere.
Merry Christmas, Bert. Merry Christmas, music stand. Merry Christmas, Pew. Merry Christmas, everyone!
He is coming back. The scene's not over yet. Is he coming back? Okay, on to the next one. So we're all familiar with Miracle on 34th Street. But could you imagine if that took place today? Cute, sweet, precocious, smart little Susan might not be so sweet.
Thank you for dinner. The milk and cookies were a nice touch.
Don't flatter yourself. They're store-bought. Mom's just too lazy to do a real dessert.
Can I tell you a secret?
I really don't care.
I'm the real Santa.
No, you're not.
How do you know?
Because Santa's not real.
You seem very sure of that.
I am.
How do you know for sure?
My mom hired me to be a store Santa, a job for an old man who's essentially unemployed for the rest of the year. Long hours, lousy pay, hours of sitting and talking to spoiled, snot-nosed, entitled brats.
Well,
If Santa was real, and you were the real Santa, there is no way that he would take such a menial job at what's supposed to be the busiest time of the year.
How about I prove it to you?
Oh yeah? How are you gonna do that?
You asked me for a Christmas gift that you never asked your mother or anyone else for.
Anything?
Anything.
A cruise around the world.
I was thinking more like,
I know. An iPhone 20.
but they don't,
Or an Xbox 3000.
they haven't.
But you said anything.
Yes, but
But what? Can you or can you deliver?
I was just thinking of something easier.
Like what?
Oh, I don't know. A real house for you and your mom.
Too much work.
A new dad.
Someone else telling me what to do? No thanks.
What about a little brother?
Now why on earth would I want something like that?
We all know how much Charlie Brown and his friends know about Christmas, but do we know how much they actually know?
Merry Christmas, everyone! Merry Christmas!
Will you tell him to shut up? I'm still recording. We all know how much Charlie Brown and his friends know about Christmas, but do we know how much they know about Hanukkah?
Stop the music.
What's the matter, Charlie Brown? Yeah, what is it now?
This music, I mean, it isn't bad, but it's always the same. And this dancing, it's giving me a headache.
You're being kind of cranky, Charlie Brown. Is something the matter? More so than usual.
I don't know. I'm just depressed, I guess.
Well, what is it now? Is it because you're ugly?
No,
Or is it because you're fat?
I didn't realize I was.
Or is it because your head is too big and you're kind of stupid? Or that you're terrible at sports?
Well, I wasn't, but I kind of am now.
Okay, then what is the problem, Charlie Brown?
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah? You're Jewish?
No, but every year right around Christmas, some people celebrate Hanukkah, and I don't know anything about it.
Well, you know where we can get the answers.
The library?
Well, of course, but the synagogue? True, but Rabbi Goldstein's house? I was actually thinking of Google. All right, let's see here. Okay, story of Hanukkah on Wikipedia.
Seriously? That might confuse him more.
Okay, Encyclopedia Britannica.
He's not that smart, remember?
Okay. Oh, here we go. How about the Hanukkah story for kids under 5? Perfect.
Hey,
A long time ago in the land of Israel, the most special place for Jewish people was the temple, synagogue, in Jerusalem. The temple contained many beautiful objects, including a tall golden menorah. Unlike menorahs of today, this one had 7 rather than 9 branches. Instead of being lit by candles or light bulbs, this menorah burned oil. Every evening, oil would be poured in the cups that sat on top of the menorah. The temple will be filled with shimmering light. Now, at the time of the Hanukkah story, a mean king named Antiochus, I think, ruled over the land of Israel. "I don't like these Jewish people," declared Antiochus. "They are so different from me. I don't celebrate Shabbat or read from the Torah, so why should they?" Antiochus made many cruel rules. No more celebrating Shabbat, no more going to the temple, and no more Torah, shouted Antiochus. He told his guards to go in the temple and make a mess. They brought mud and stones and garbage into the temple. They broke furniture and knocked things down. They smashed the jars of oil that were used to light the menorah. Antiochus and the soldiers made the Jews feel very sad and angry. A Jewish man named Judah said, "We must stop Antiochus. We must think of ways to make him leave the land of Israel." At first, Judah's followers were afraid. "Judah," they said, "Antiochus has so many soldiers. His soldiers carry such big weapons, and he uses huge elephants to fight his battles. How can we Jews who don't have weapons fight against him?" Judah said, "I think if we think very hard and plan very carefully, we will be able to defeat him." It took a long time, but at last the Jews chased Antiochus and his men out of Israel. As soon as Antiochus and soldiers were gone, the Jewish people ran into Jerusalem to clean their temple. What a mess! The beautiful menorah was gone, and the floor was covered with trash, broken furniture, and pieces from the shattered jars of oil. The Jewish people built a new menorah. At first, they worried they would not be able to light their new menorah. But they searched and searched until at last they found one tiny jar of oil, enough to light the menorah for just one evening. The Jewish people knew this would be at least 8 days before they could get more oil. But they lit the menorah anyway. To their surprise, this little jar of oil burned for 8 days. The Jewish people could not believe their good fortune. First, their small army had chased away Antiochus' large army, and now the tiny jars of oil had lasted for 8 whole days. The Jewish people prayed and thanked God for these miracles. Every year during Hanukkah, Jews light menorahs for 8 days to remember the miracles that happened long ago.
wow, that's amazing. I think I understand now.
How do you feel better now, Charlie?
I do.
Great. Want to play some football?
Oh, good grief.
But we only have time for one more scene, and we haven't done the Grinch, and we haven't done anything about Bethlehem. So we're just going to combine the two. Enjoy.
A long time ago, or so I've been told, there lived a poor shepherd who was grumpy and old. He was set in his ways and would not budge an inch. A lonely curmudgeon called Euphemius Finch. Mr. Finch did not care about people or things. He did not care about And if anyone dared to stop just to talk, he'd chase them off yelling.
You're disturbing my flock.
All the stories I've heard have made it quite clear he was cranky and nasty and heel of the year. But although Mr. Finch was more than a creep, he was good at one thing, taking care of his sheep. They were cuter than cute, woolly and fun, and he combed them and fed them and had names for each one. There was Buffy and Muffy, that rhyme sort of stuck. There was Tuffy and Fluffy, and then there was Chuck. He made them feel special, like he was their dad. To them he was pleasant and wasn't so bad. So why should I care, I know you might say? What does this Mr. Finch mean to my Christmas Day? Well, it just so happens Mr. Finch and his sheep were on the hill close to Bethlehem, getting ready for sleep. It was way past their bedtime. Mr. Finch was distressed.
My sheep should be sleeping. They all need their
Put them
rest.
to bed like he did every night. He gave them a scratch and tucked them in tight. He first tucked in Buffy, then Muffy real fast, then Tuffy and Fluffy, and tucked Chuck in last. As he tiptoed away, though not a sound did he make, those cute little sheep were still wide awake. So he sang them a song, a lullaby that soars, until from those sheep he heard nothing but snores. Mr. Finch was quite thankful, and last he could sit right there on the ground and rest for a bit. When out of the skies there arose such a clatter, he sprang from the ground to see what was the matter. The sky, it was filled with a bright glowing light. Other shepherds were hiding and cowering with fright. Then suddenly an angel in the sky did appear and told all the shepherds,
You have nothing to fear, for on this night a Savior is born, Jesus Christ the child.
Then he pulled out a horn. She summoned more angels to join her and sing. He sang praises to God and his gift of the King. Their song was so lovely, with a sound full and loud. It filled up the heavens. God must have been proud. Now, mean Mr. Finch was not scared, shocked, or glad. In fact, Mr. Finch was really quite mad. The angels were loud, so it was not such a shock that those angels' big voices
Woke up my flock.
they woke Buffy and Muffy, and oh, what the luck. They woke Tuffy and Fluffy, and even woke Chuck. Then old Mr. Finch walked off in a huff. He was mumbling and grumbling all sorts of mean stuff. He started to storm. He did not explain. Off to Bethlehem he went. He was gonna complain. He did not hear the words of the joy that they were bringing.
I must find a way to stop those angels from singing.
With each step he took, his anger grew and it grew. To silence those angels was what he would do. But when Mr. Finch got all the way, he found baby Jesus asleep on the hay. His mean heart was moved as never before. He watched Mary and Joseph as he stood at the door. His mind started racing. Oh, what could he say to Jesus our Lord this first Christmas day? He wanted to give a gift, pure and true, but he didn't have money, so what could he do? Then he got an idea. It was brilliant, no doubt. He called all his sheep to help a guy out. He cut off the wool of each sheep that night and made a blanket to tuck Jesus in tight. Now old Mr. Finch was not the meanest on earth, thanks to God up in heaven and Jesus' birth.
Well, that's it. We're done. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy New Year. See you on the boards.